And let me show you how I would do number 3. Number 3 says z equals m minus x, and they want you to solve for x. So your ultimate goal is to isolate and get x by itself. So to get x by itself, I've put my line down, my equal sign. I have to get rid of this m first. If you look to the left of the m, there's no sign, which means it's positive. So we are going to subtract m from both sides. When I subtract m, I get z minus m equals negative x. But you can't leave it like that. What do you have to do? Divide by what?
X.
No, you can't divide by x.
M. Z.
What am I solving for?
X.
Divide by negative 1. Divide by negative 1. Everything gets divided by negative 1 because you have to have x by itself, not negative x, positive x.
What did I numbers do?
Because this is what's in front of the x right here. A negative sign, which means that there's always a 1 in front of a variable, so you're going to divide by negative 1.
Wait, so
This
1z equals 1m equals negative 1?
1z minus, yeah, there's always a 1 in front of all of your variables. So the negative 1 cancels on the right-hand side, so you get x equals positive z divided by negative 1 gives you a negative z. Negative m divided by negative 1 gives you a positive m. That problem right there will probably be the hardest one you do all day. You would have done yesterday, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Number 4, this one is probably the easiest one. Number 4, they want you to solve for a. So you have g equals ca. So you need to get a by itself by doing the opposite operation. There's no adding or subtracting going on, but you have a c and an a just smushed together. So how do you undo, or how do we get rid of this c? Divide. Divide by c, because you can't subtract because there's no signs in between. If two things are just smushed together like that, that means it's multiplication. So to undo multiplication, you divide. Divide by c. On the right-hand side, they cancel, and you're left with a equals, and you just write this as g over c.
Yeah, I got that one.
Do you see what you did? Yes? No? I'm walking through these to kind of help you guys out because today we're playing Connect 4, and I need you to make sure you know what you're doing, or you're not going to be able to do Connect 4. It's kind of the same thing because it's a 4x4 board instead of a 5x5.
Yeah.
Number 5, it says u equals x minus k, and they want you to solve for x. So there's only, on the same side of the x is this minus k. So how do you get x by itself? You add k. So you do the opposite operation. You add k there, add k there. Negative k plus k, they cancel each other out because you did the opposite operation. And then you have u plus k equals, and then you bring down the x. We're solving these the same way as we solved equations last week and the week before, except like I said, you're not getting like numbers for answers. You're getting just variables.
On all these, I forgot to do subtraction or addition on both sides.
It's not good. Okay, for number 6, you have g equals c plus x. So what do you need to do to get x by itself? Subtract c. C is positive because if you look to the left of it, there's no sign. So we're going to subtract c. On the left, you have g minus c. Then you have equals. C minus c is 0. A positive and a negative, when you add and subtract, cancels. And this x, if you look to the left of it, is positive, so you're left with just x. So you have x equals g minus c. So looking at that chunk, how many of you got maybe 3 or 4 of them right? 3 or 4. Okay. if you even attempted them. How about that? Okay.
Yikes.
All right. Number 8. So the next chunk is 8, 9, 10, and 11. For number 8, it says G equals XC, and they want you to solve for X. So how do we get X by itself? Divide by C, because they're smushed together. Opposite operation is division. So then you get X equals G over C. That's it. Number 9. Number 9 gives you have 12am equals 4, and they want you to solve for A. So I'm going to draw my line down. What do I need to do to solve for A? Or how do we get A by itself? What do I got to do? Divide by?
M.
Okay, I'm going to divide by M. So the M's will cancel on the left. And I have 12A equals 4 over M. Then what do?
Divide both by M. Again.
M's already on the other side. I want to get A by itself.
Divide by 12.
Divide by 12. Now, when you divide by 12, you already have dividing going on over here. So you're just going to put divide by, and then you're going to put the 12 underneath on that side as well. You could have divided by the 12 and the M at the same time. So your answer is going to be A equals 4 over 12M. And you could reduce this fraction, and it gives you A equals 4/12 is the same thing as 1/3 M. That's technically the right answer because it's more simplified. It's going to be great. You guys are going to do great. It's going to be great. Number 10. Number 10, it says negative 3x plus 2c equals negative 3, and you have to solve for x. So this one's got a couple of steps within it. What do we do first to get x by itself? No, not divide 2. This one's different because you actually, this one you have adding and subtracting signs going on. So if I want to isolate this piece right here, not yet. Remember the order? Remember we said don't call me after midnight. We don't have any distributing to do. We don't have any terms to combine. We don't have any variables to move because x is by itself over here already. We don't have any x's on this side to bring over. Do we have any adding or subtracting that we could do to get x by itself? Do we have any adding or subtracting to get x by itself? What do I need to do? If I take this 3 and I add it and bring it over here, it's not going to help me out. I need to get this by itself. We're adding and subtracting. Owen. Subtract the 2c. You're isolating the variable. Get the variable by itself. When you subtract the 2c, now you're left with the x on the left-hand side equals, and then you can rewrite this as just negative 3 minus 2c. So we did the add and subtract. Now we're at the multiply divide. So is there anything I can multiply or divide to get x by itself?
3.
Divide by, no.
Negative 3.
Negative 3. Divide everything by negative 3. And then you get x equals negative 3 divided by negative 3 is what?
0.
No.
1.
1. Negative 2 divided by negative 3 is just a positive 2 over 3, and leave the c. This one is a toughie. The ones we do today are actually a little bit easier, I think, than these, which is good because there's candy involved today. And then last one is number 11. AM equals N plus P. Yes. So for number 11, what would we need to do to get A by itself? Divide by M. Everything gets divided by M. So you get A equals N over M plus P over M. These are weird. They're super weird because
No numbers.
there's no numbers. I'm well aware that they're weird.
No.
On your own, as a little warm up today, because I don't know how many of you actually did what you needed to do yesterday. There were a lot of people pushing back on this. I need you to try 13 and 14. Try 13 and 14 on your own. Okay, 13. 13 wants you. 13 wants you to solve for A. So you draw your line down. To get A by itself, you see how you have this minus C. So you need to get rid of the minus C by doing the opposite operation and adding C. So you get A equals. Now, you can write this a bunch of different ways. As long as you have a D, as long as you have a negative or a minus R somewhere, and then you have to have a plus or a positive C. That's one way you could write it. You also could have D plus C minus R, or you could have it as C plus D minus R. The main thing is just to make sure that your C is positive, your D is positive, your R is negative. These are all correct. Any questions there? Number 14, you need to solve for X. So to get X by itself, you only have to do one thing. What you got to do? Divide by M.
Yeah, told you. Wow, who would have thought?
So you get X equals NP over M. Any questions?